Welcome to the Socialette podcast, where we empower you with the marketing know-how you need to create the business of your dreams. I'm your host, Steph Taylor, and I'm a marketing nerd, Shiraz lover, and passport stamp collector. Join me as I dive into all things small business marketing and deliver them to you in bite-sized, fluff-free lessons every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Let's get learning. Hey, welcome back to the Socialette podcast. This is episode 66. And before we get stuck into this episode, I wanted to quickly tell you about another podcast that I think you will love if you are enjoying this podcast. Ladyland is a podcast run by the lovely ladies behind Lady Brains. In each episode, they interview ambitious, successful, and inspiring women about what it takes to become a success. Founders like Jane Lou from Shopo and serial startup queen Greta Van Riel. Highly recommend giving it a listen. Just search for Ladyland in your chosen podcast app, or you can find them on Instagram at LadyBrains. All right, so into today's episode. Today, I'm looking at 7 content ideas because often you have no idea what to write or record or whatever. Last week, I helped you figure out what types of content are the best fit for your business and for you as a person. But now you're probably thinking, okay, cool, but what should my content actually be about? So here are 7 content ideas to get you started. These ideas apply to pretty much any type of content, be it a blog post, a live video, a podcast, or even just an Instagram post. Okay? Hey, if you're enjoying this podcast, would you do me a favor? Please take a screenshot of this episode and share it to your Instagram stories. If you tag me at We Are Wildbloom, I'll see it and you might just get a shout out. Okay, let's dive in. The first content idea is a how-to or a tutorial. How-tos are amazing because you're giving your audience a quick win. By completing the steps in your how-to, they've achieved something they wanted to achieve. And that is a great feeling. Make sure the steps in your how-to are clear, the outcome is achievable, and that it's actually something your audience wants to do. You could even take this how-to and turn it into an ebook or a cheat sheet, something that they can download from your website in return for giving you their email address. Content idea number 2, your story. Even if you think your story is boring, chances are other people will find it interesting. And I don't mean your story as in the whole I was born here and then I grew up here and then I went to school here kind of story. Rather, talk about things like why you started your business, what the big purpose or vision or mission of your business is, what you believe in, what you're passionate about. Believe it or not, these things are relevant to your ideal customer or client. Often they'll be passionate about similar things and you'll find that they resonate with it. Content idea number 3, a list. This probably works best as a blog post or an ebook or a checklist, but you could try it in video or audio format, like this episode is one. For example, in my case, it could be a list of 10 things to do when you first start marketing your business, or a list of 7 content ideas like this episode, or a list of the best small business marketing apps. You get the idea. Think about a list you could create that your ideal customer or client would be interested in and that solves a problem or adds value for them. Content idea number 4, dispel a common myth in your industry. I really like these ones. Like this could be a myth or it could be a list of 5. So for example, I could record a podcast on common myths about Facebook ads, except I already did that. Think about what some common myths in your space are, and then think about whether you could create an entire piece of content around one myth, or whether you'd be better off squeezing, say, 5 myths into one piece of content. Content idea number 5, interview someone. Don't just interview a random person, interview someone that your ideal customer or client would learn something from or be interested in. This could be a video interview, a podcast, even a blog post. You could do it via Instagram Live or Facebook Live or an Instagram story. There are a lot of options. Just make sure you ask meaningful questions. Do a Google search and see what other people have asked them in the past, and try to dive a little bit deeper than past interviews have. You want to create some value here that nobody else has done. Content idea number 6, share a Roundup. I guess this is more blog content than the other topics, but essentially a roundup is like a collection of links to other people's blogs that you share. For example, if you had a food blog, it could be the 5 best low-carb dessert recipes or 5 recipes I'm loving this week. For me, it could be 9 Instagram feeds I'm loving at the moment. It doesn't take long to create, and once you've created it, you can reach out to the author of the blog posts, let them know that you featured them, and hopefully they'll share the post for you. It does help a little bit if you make the post really easy for them to share. So by creating your Instagram graphics and a Pinterest pin and, say, an Instagram story image, all they have to do is then just publish that image to social media to share it. Makes it a lot easier. Content idea number 7, latest news and trends. Now, I don't mean your latest news like your company news, but I mean the latest news in your industry. Are there any big changes happening that you can sort of break down into layman's terms for your audience? Or are there any trends that you can discuss and explain? For example, I do this every fortnight on an Instagram Live. I sit down and I discuss the latest Instagram news and I break it down so that you know what it means for you. It just makes it a lot more simple for your audience. That's it for this episode. Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes released every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Next episode, I'm looking at SEO basics, like real SEO for beginners. You definitely do not want to miss that episode. Also, if you haven't left a rating or a review in iTunes or Apple Podcasts, I'd love it if you could do that. Thanks so much for listening. Catch you next time.